good burger.
Plans meet to eat meat.
Yo! Welcome to another Untimely review. This time it's another bona fide classic, a movie that has undoubtedly had intense effects on me, for better or for worse, and the apex of 90s culture, Good Burger. For this review, I'm not even gonna try to figure out if this movie is good or not. I already know the answer. We're just gonna figure out what makes this movie so iconic. So let's get right into the story. Major spoilers for my most biased review yet. We begin this visual chef d'oeuvre, as all Nickelodeon movies do, with an only slightly related branded intro, and then we get a nice little burger being made with a song that is eerily similar to the music from Spyro 2. But that's because the guy who scored this, Stuart Copeland, also scored the OG Spyro games, and now this movie has just moved into my top 5 all time. But that's just the intro with the title screen. The movie really starts with its most iconic line.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
The delivery, the writing, it's genius! And this is where we get introduced to Ed. Can cook minute rice in only 15 minutes, and once sold his parents' car for gas. Then we get a sense of the whimsical and surreal nature of the film when these magical burgers start talking to him, but we find out that this was all just a dream. When he wakes up, we really get to see the dedication Ed has to his job by not only sleeping in his uniform and taking a shower in his uniform, but also the food-themed decor in his room. While in the shower, we get the best equality anthem that details a key fact that so many people have a hard time understanding, which is that, in fact, we're all dudes. On his way to work, Ed gives a girl a concussion and kidnaps a baby, which causes the baby to be laid up like a basketball, but it was all an accident and everything worked out alright in the end, so there's no real need for consequences. When he finally makes it to work, we hear about the new burger joint that's supposed to open soon across the street, Mondo Burger. Then at the local high school, a man who obviously time traveled from the 70s is giving the kids a test on the last day of school, because not only is his fashion sense terrible, he's also just a terrible person. But this scene introduces us to our secondary protagonist, Dexter, aka Dex, a professional slacker, and has only child syndrome. I'm an only child, I can say that. Back at Good Burger, Ed's manager, Mr. Bailey, played by Dan Schneider, who is in real life a fucking freak who deserves jail time and will no longer be mentioned in this review, tells Ed that he needs to make a delivery. Dex is going over his summer vacation plans with his homie, but because of his penchant for reckless driving and Ed just being a danger to himself and others, he gets into an accident with, what a surprise, 70s Teacher Man. And because it was still totally Dex's fault, 70s Teacher Man makes him pay for it, but with Dex being broker than my trust in the educational system, he has to get a job. He tries to get one at Mondo Burger, but he's not really looking like he fits in the criteria of being what we would call a good worker. On the good side of things, Ed is taking a quick dip in the shake machine, and back at Mondo's massive bovine burgers, we're introduced to Kurt. His dad will sue your ass, and his protagonist syndrome turned him into an antagonist. Funny how that works. And because Dex just can't keep his jokes to himself, he's out of the culinary cult. Down on his luck, Dex decides to drown his sorrows at Good Burger with far too many good shakes. That dip Ed took must have enhanced the flavor, I guess. I don't know.
Moving on!
After the world's strangest job interview that involves a man saying he's wanted to be dead for years, a man eating a fly, and Dex trying to hit on one of his future co-workers,
Denied.
Dex starts working at Good Burger. So let's just run through his co-workers real quick. There's Fizz, more Mr. Pibb than Dr. Pepper, Otis.
Luxury rap, the Hermes of verses, sophisticated ignorance, write my curses in cursive.
Spatch, big man, bigger spatula. Dee Dee chases the bag even if it's against her own morals. And Monique deserves better than this job and definitely deserves better than Dex. Not hating, just need that to be clear. Ed then shows Dex what he's gonna be doing deliveries in. There's even more reckless driving, and 70s Teacher Man almost gets run over through absolutely no fault of his own. Back at the restaurant, Dex is doing some quick maths to see how long it would take him to pay off his debts.
It's a long time.
And Kurt comes over because he has nothing better to do and is a loser. Then we find out Mondo Burger has its grand opening at night because they think they're a fine dining restaurant and not just an Odyssey Fun World location that turned into a burger joint. People even dressed up for the opening, which means they also have nothing better to do. There's a montage of Good Burger struggling and Mondo Burger succeeding with a track about a dude who only has one thumb. For a reason that I don't know, but the song is hard, so that's fine.
You got a opposable thumb, opposable thumb, opposable thumb. I got one.
Monique shuts Dex down again, and Dex realizes that Ed is the reason why he got into an accident. I mean, it's still because he was whipping through the city listening to Whitney, but still. Also, Ed knocks down 77-year-old Otis and doesn't help him up, but Dex takes him to the hospital, so that's nice that he's doing the bare minimum, I guess. The next day, when Ed forces himself into Dex's lunch, Dex finds out that Ed makes his own secret sauce that tastes much better than it has any reason to be. And once everyone gets a taste of his sweet, sweet orangey nectar, he starts making it for Good Burger. We get the studio quality version of We're All Dudes over a montage of people enjoying that sauce, but then Dex, being the money-hungry tyrant that he is, he gets Ed to sign a contract over the percentages that they get from each sale of saucy Good Burgers, with Ed getting 20% and Dex getting 80%. So, for all you non-business or accounting majors out there, it's a very bad deal for Ed. But with him being the lovable and far too trusting guy that he is, Ed signs it. Then, after the day's over, Ed guilt trips Dex to hang out with him, and they actually get to bond a little. The next day, Dex has a delivery, so you know what that means. More reckless driving, and a cameo from the guy from the Gold Bond commercials. So that's a fun day for both of these two. The next day though, Kurt tries to get Ed to start working for him, but he's really not with it, and when Dex presses him about it, he gives him a yo-yo that's similar to the one he talked about when they bonded earlier. Aw, how sweet. So, because Ed doesn't want to work for Kurt, he sends in the big guns. Roxanne. A woman who is so incredibly horny in public it should be a felony, but she gets Ed to go on a date with her. Ed then somehow sets it up as a double date with Dex and Monique at the arcade. There, Dex is a glizzy gobbler, and more hilarity ensues as Roxanne tries to get the secret sauce formula from Ed. But of course, even her womanly wiles aren't enough to crack Ed. Then Monique finds out about the contract Dex made Ed sign, and just as fast as she starts to like him, she doesn't anymore. So Dex tries to talk to Ed about the contract, but then a detour involving a random dog, the thickest beef patty you've ever seen, and Dex and Ed dressed up as old ladies, and they find out that the reason that those burgers are huge as fuck is because Mondo Burger put illegal growth hormones in them. The actual name, real hard for me to say, so I'm not going to. It's just gonna be whatever I want to call it at that given point. Now, after the revelation that Kurt can get his hands on that illegal embiggen juice, we also found out that he can just send people to mental health asylums, because it isn't a movie from the 90s unless the villain just has too much power. Just too much power for no fucking reason. So, now Dex and Ed are just residents of Demented Hills now, and while Ed's trying to make the best of it, wait a minute, is that? No, it can't be. Linda's in this? I wasn't expecting this movie to move into my top 3, but I really can't ask for much more at this point. Whew, I gotta get back on track. Anyway, we see that this place isn't really for the benefit of those with mental issues, and more a place just to stick them all with what appears to be little to no supervision. And while Ed and Dex are there, Kurt and his band of dubious dudes break into Good Burger looking for the sauce, but because Otis is sleeping there, I don't know, for some reason, he confronts them. Kurt shows that he's not such a bad guy because he doesn't want to be rude to the elderly and just explains that he's trying to poison the sauce. How nice and forthcoming with that information. But Otis gets sent to Demented Hills, so he's really still not that great. Wait a minute.
I know that ain't who I think it is.
George Clinton? Well, I don't know why he's in here, but that's cool, I guess. Then there's a dance number that the movie didn't need, but it is welcomed. And in that choreographed routine, they're able to escape, but Linda stays behind, so it's a bittersweet escape. At least for me. Luckily, by the time they get back to Good Burger, they stop anyone from eating some of the tainted sauce. So with that part done, Dex and Ed go sneak over to Mondo Burger to try and get one of those hormone cans for the cops. Then the plan involves parkour, condiment weaponry, and exploding beef patties. Every time you think there's no topping this, it keeps happening. Finally, Kurt ends up in jail, 70s teacher man gets his car destroyed by fake beef, and it's at this point you might even feel bad for him because he's really not done anything wrong this whole time, until you remember he had a test on the last day of school, and honestly, I think he got off pretty well. Ed then reveals that he's actually a learned intellectual, capable of thinking 17 steps ahead while making pointed and insightful criticisms of the American legal system. So the guy that does this,
Look, I'm Great Nose Boy. Bloobity, bloobity, bloobity.
says this.
And the way that America's court system is congested these days, it would have taken months to convict him of anything.
Just to make sure we're all on the same page. Ed gets celebrated as the dude who saved Good Burger, and the movie ends with Ed saying,
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
alright, now that the story's out of the way, what did I think? It should be no surprise that I like this movie, and even after watching it again now, I do really think that it holds up. Good Burger isn't really one of those movies that is so bogged down by out-of-date references and bad stereotypes that the movie feels super dated. Don't get me wrong, it's still super dated, but it's not by cultural changes. It's more just that a lot of the problems would have been different if this movie came out today. It would have been some type of stupid social media campaign to get Good Burger back in good graces. I don't know. It's probably gonna be dumb. So let's hope that they don't make Good Burger 2, because there's talks of it. I don't want it. I don't want any more sequels. Fuck the sequels.
Now back to the show.
When it comes to the acting, I think everyone does an above average job. For a movie like this, Kurt, played by Jan Schweiderman, could have been way more over the top, and yet, for a dude that owns a new fast food joint, he has crazy delusions of grandeur, but I don't think the movie goes overboard with it. Other characters like Otis and Monique don't really get to do anything, but they use their time on screen to be their one-dimensional selves pretty well. I do think that the whole Dex and Monique thing is forced as hell, but I don't think it affects the story or my enjoyment of it too much. When it comes to our two main dudes, I think it's interesting how Keenan and Kel worked off of each other in this movie. By this point, they had been working together and been friends for a couple years, but in the beginning parts of the movie, you really couldn't tell that. Their friendship really comes out in the later half where they're bouncing off of each other more, and I think that's a pretty good testament to their acting skills at the time. I wish that it seemed like they were still good friends today, and I'm not saying that they're not, but every time that I see them together today, the vibes feel a little off. I don't know, I'm just saying, a little off.
Any whoosies.
This is one of those stupid, silly movies where I don't really get tired of the characters being stupid and silly. And since Ed's whole thing is that he misunderstands or takes everything literally, this could have been super annoying, but maybe since I already think Kel is funny, I just let it go. Also, he's from Chicago, so of course, he's my favorite. Aside from that, the movie itself is still good. I don't think that it's gonna impress anybody who unironically calls themselves film critics, but for an hour and a half full of lovable, stupid hijinks, I think it's solid. But what's really interesting to me is how influential this movie is. I'm not gonna say that this movie completely influenced SpongeBob since the pilot of SpongeBob came out in '97 too, but there's mad similarities between them. A lovable idiot working in fast food, two goofy goobers that get into something way bigger than them, burger mobiles, and someone trying to steal a special formula. And then there's the fact that this movie started the trend of asking where the sauce is on any digital platform, and I will not be hearing any other ideas on where that could have come from. I don't care. This movie slaps. Is it amazing? Yes. Would it be amazing to anyone who didn't grow up watching this or stuff like this? I don't know, probably not. But this movie has a good heart in it, and I think that the core of it being new friendship, not being selfish, and working towards a larger goal are timeless things that will continue to make this movie relevant. But let me know what you think. Is this movie worth the potential comedy diabetes from watching this, or are you better off using your media cheat day watching something else? Let me know in the comment section below. Mayhaps like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.